Question 13 2006. Which of the following is an incorrect statement? 1. In phloem sieve tubes, transport of sucrose may take place in both the directions. 2. Sucrose is the only organic substance transported in phloem. 3. Sucrose is secreted into sieve tube elements of phloem by companion cells. 4. ATP energy is used in the process of phloem loading. 5. Sieve tube elements are living cells although they do not have nuclei. Let's recall the facts about the phloem tissue and the process of phloem translocation first. Several types of cells are found in phloem tissue. They are sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Out of them, only phloem fibers are non-living. Companion cells contain dense cytoplasm with more organelles. They control the activities of the sieve tubes. Sieve tubes don't have nuclei, and they bear fewer organelles, since they need more space to carry sugar. And sieve tube elements are living cells, though they do not have nuclei. Phloem sap moves from sites of sugar production to site of sugar use or storage. Sugar can move along the sieve tube in both the directions, up and down, according to the location of the source and sink. Sugar source is an organ that is a net producer of sugar by photosynthesis or by breakdown of starch. Plant leaves are sources, whereas growing roots, stems, buds and fruits are sinks. Important facts about phloem translocation. Phloem sap moves from source to sink at a rate about 1 meter per hour, and it moves by bulk flow, driven by positive pressure, known as pressure flow. In many plants, sugar movements into phloem requires ATP, because sugar is more concentrated in sieve tube elements and companion cells than mesophyll cells. In some species, sugar moves from mesophyll cells to sieve tube elements via symplast, through plasmodesmata. The process varies by species and organ. Sugar is unloaded at the sink end of the sieve tube. The concentration of free sugar in sink is always lower than in the sieve tube. Because the unloaded sugar is consumed during growth and metabolism of cells of sinks, or converted to insoluble polymers such as starch. Phloem sap, the aqueous solution that flows through sieve tubes, contain 30% of sucrose and other materials such as amino acids, hormones and minerals. Accordingly, second statement is incorrect, because sucrose is not the only organic substance transported in phloem. Amino acids and hormones are organic compounds. The incorrect statement about phloem translocation is the second statement, therefore. Answer 2. Let's do another question related to phloem translocation to enhance the knowledge. Question 14 2009. Which of the following statements regarding phloem transport is incorrect? 1. Loading of sucrose into sieve tubes is done by transfer cells, using respiratory energy. 2. Osmosis is not an important factor for transport of phloem sap. 3. Transport of phloem sap within sieve tubes can take place in both the directions at different times. 4. Sieve tube elements contain cytoplasm, but no nuclei. 5. Phloem also transports amino acids, growth substances, and chemicals applied to plants, in addition to sucrose. Pressure flow hypothesis. Phloem translocation of angiosperms is explained by pressure flow hypothesis. Following processes take place in this translocation. 1. Loading of sugar into the sieve tube reduces water potential inside the sieve tube elements at the source. 2. This causes the sieve tube to take up water from the xylem by osmosis. 3. A positive pressure is built and forces the phloem sap to flow along the tube. 4. Sugar is unloaded at the sink, and water also leaves the tube and enters the xylem again. As a result, pressure reduces. Let's study the process of this pressure flow hypothesis further. Example 4. Downward movement of phloem sap. Sieve tube. Xylem vessel, modified companion cells. Source. Sugar molecules. Water molecules. Loading of sugar into the sieve tube reduces water potential inside the sieve tube elements at the source. This causes the sieve tube to take up water from the xylem by osmosis. In many plants, sugar movements into phloem requires ATP. A positive pressure is built and forces the phloem sap to flow along the tube. Sugar is unloaded at the sink, and water also leaves the tube and enters the xylem again. Pressure reduces, creating a pressure gradient along the sieve tube. Example 4. Upward movement of phloem sap. Sieve tube. Xylem vessel. Modified companion cells. Source. Sugar molecules. Water molecules. Loading of sugar into the sieve tube reduces water potential inside the sieve tube elements at the source. This causes the sieve tube to take up water from the xylem by osmosis. In many plants, sugar movements into phloem requires ATP. A positive pressure is built and forces the phloem sap to flow along the tube. Sugar is unloaded at the sink, and water also leaves the tube and enters the xylem again. In some species, sugar moves from mesophyll cells to sieve tube elements via symplast, through plasmodesmata. Accordingly, statements 1, 3, 4 and 5 about phloem translocation are correct. But the second statement is incorrect because water enters to the sieve tube by osmosis, when water potential reduced due to phloem loading. Osmosis is an essential process in phloem translocation. Therefore, answer 2. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more such videos.